Hello and welcome to our 40th session, and in this session we are going to build a game over screen and a restart level. As of now, when the player drops out of the island, nothing is happening and the enemies keeps on spawning. Soon as the player drops out, we want a game over screen and then a restart button. So let's build this user interface and complete this game in this session. Now let us start by launching Unity Hub. Now come into the project and you can start with this tilting_island 7 project which we completed in the previous session. However, if you doesn't have this project file, don't worry. Come into the new project and here in the template choose Universal 3D SRP. Come into this project name and I am going to now call this as Tilting Island 8, and in eUnity project click on create project. Now as the project is getting loaded, come to the YouTube video page and if you scroll down in the description, if you click on more, you are provided with a Patreon link. Click on this link. Here in the Junior Programmer Series Patreon page, if you scroll down, you are provided with this 40 Tilting Island Challenge 1 Start Unity package. Click on this to download the file. If required, also download this Satvik_layout WLT file. Once Unity is launched, come into the project panel, select this README file and in the inspector click on remove README asset. And here in the confirmation window, click on proceed. In the project panel, you have this input systems_action. This file is not needed. You can right click and choose delete, and in the confirmation window click on delete. If your layout doesn't match the layout that you are seeing here, you can come on the right hand side in this layout panel and choose the Satvik panel. And if Satvik is not available, come into load layout from file, come to your downloads folder, select Satvik_layout.wlt file that you downloaded from Patreon page and click on open. Your layout and the layout you are seeing here will be the same. Now come into the project panel, click on assets, right click and choose import package custom package, and now select the Unity package file that you downloaded. Select this and click on open. Now in import Unity package dialog box, see that all is selected and click on import. You open the scenes and you have a scene here, tilting_island scene. Double click to open this. You don't need this sample scene. Select it, right click and choose delete, and in the confirmation window click on delete. In this session, before we proceed, we had done one mistake in our script. So if you come into the script, you have this player control script. Double click to open this. Now in this script, in our on collision enter, when the collision happens, then we had added the force. When the enemy collides with the player, we had added force to the enemy. So that's why we are not able to push the enemy away. So here, instead of enemy rigid body here, change it to player RB. That is player rigid body. So now go to file, save it. Now come back to Unity. Allow the script to compile, and then if you play the game and now if you check it, this is working fine. But now there is an issue. As we are playing, player and all our enemies fly away in the scene. And to avoid this, I will stop the playback. In the project panel, in scripts, come into player controls and double click to open it. Now here in the fixed update, after we add this power up and all these values, press enter here and I will check for a condition. If add open close bracket, transform position Y of my player, if it becomes greater than 1, then I will press enter, add open close bracket, set transform.position of my player equal to new vector 3, in open close bracket end it with semicolon. I will set the x value, transform.position x value same, but along the y I will set it to 0.1f, comma, for z it will be transform position parent z, and I will end it with semicolon. If my player moves above the ground by around 1 unit, he will be pushed back to 0.1f. That is the original position. So it's not now going to fly. I will copy this entire if statement here. If and this line, right click and I am going to copy this. Now I will come to file, save this file, and here I am going to open enemy.cs also. Scroll down to update, and after this enemy RB add force, I will press enter and press Ctrl V to paste it, and now come to file and save it. Now coming back to Unity, allow the script to compile, and now if I play and check it, see now, so I can take this power up and push them out, and here the issue is, by chance if the player falls down, see now these enemies keeps on getting spawning and the game continues, but this has no meaning because the player himself is missing. So when the player falls down, immediately I should get a screen here showing game over and also a restart button. Now we are going to add this. Okay, so now I will stop the playback. Now coming here into hierarchy, I am going to right click and come into UI, and I am going to first add a canvas. I am going to call this as game over canvas. In this game over canvas, I will right click, come into UI. I am going to add a text mesh pro object, and if it asks me to import TMP, that is text mesh pro, click on import TMP essentials, and then also import TMP examples and extras. This is an extra package that has to be installed to add this new text mesh in our Unity project. So now I will close this TMP importer. Now immediately you can see new text appearing in the game window, and if I come in the hierarchy, select this text TMP, and I will press F2 and I will call this as text underscore game over, and coming into the inspector, in the text input I am going to type game over, and you can see in the window also I see this game over. And then if you scroll down, I will enable auto size, and scrolling down this setting here underlay, I will enable it, and here in over V is capital, I will make V small. And if I scroll down, I will set the offset X to 1, offset Y to 1, and softness also to 1. I also want to add a restart button. So this game over is at the center of the screen. I will select it, and in the inspector I will come up, and along the Y I will slightly move it up. I will move it by 75 units. Come into game over canvas. Right click, I will come into UI, and now I will add button text mesh pro, and I am going to call this as btn underscore restart. I will open this, and in the text.tmp I will select it, and in the text input I am going to call this as restart. I will select this restart button, and along the Y axis I will slightly push it down like that. Now normally in games, to handle loading of the scenes, levels, and to handle this game over, we usually create a game manager object. So I will come into the hierarchy, I will right click and I will create an empty object, and I am going to call this as game manager. Coming back to my project panel and in script, I am going to right click and I am going to create a new mono behavior script, and I will call this as game manager. Now see that the public class name here and the file name is the same. Then I will drag this and attach it to my game manager empty object. Coming back to project panel, select game manager and double click to open it. Since we press the restart button, we want the scene to reload. This kind of concept we call this as scene management. Initially, along with using Unity engine here, I will press enter and I will call using Unity engine period scene management, and I will end this with semicolon. Coming into public game manager mono behavior, inside this, after this open flower bracket, I am now going to declare a new type of variable. We call this is public, but I call this as static. Static means this can be called only once. It can be shared throughout my project, but it can have only one instance in the entire program. I am going to call this game manager the type, and I will call this as instance. I will add open close flower bracket, get semicolon. Now this can be called from any script directly, and I will set private set semicolon. This means that this script cannot be changed from any other component. In the next line, declare a new public game object, and I am going to call this as game over screen, end it with semicolon. So this is a game object which is going to hold my game over screen canvas. I will press enter and I will declare one more public boolean, and I am going to call this as is game over, and I am going to set its value to false. Coming 7th line, that is above these two, I will press tab, I will add open close square bracket, and inside this I will call header, and I will in open close brackets in inverted comma I will type game over screen. This will help me to organize these controls well in the inspector. After this is game over false, press enter, and now I am going to call private void awake, add open close bracket, press enter, and add open close flower bracket. And inside this now, when the script starts loading, I am going to test for a condition if in open close bracket the instance that I have declared, if it is not equal to null, I will add 2 ampersand, and instance is not equal to exclamation equals this. I will press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this I am now going to destroy this game object, and I will end it with semicolon. Sorry, here destroy, there is a spelling mistake, I will correct it. And in the next line I am now going to return this so that no other code below will be executed. However, if this condition is not true, then instance will be equal to this, and end it with semicolon. Now we also add another line here, don't destroy on load game object. Finally, we will add another conditional statement. If open close bracket game over screen is not equal to null, add open close flower bracket, and inside this we are going to set this game over screen period set active false. This game over screen, we are hiding it in the screen initially by using this statement. I will come out of this awake code block, and now I am going to declare a new method called as private void. I will call this as game over, add open close bracket, press enter, and in open close flower bracket. So when we call this game over function, it will test for a condition, add open close bracket, it will test whether is game over boolean is true, then I will come out of this bracket, it is going to return back. Function execution will stop here directly. If is game over is not true, then is game over will be set equal to true, and end it with semicolon. Then I will press enter again, and I will add one more if statement, and in open close bracket, now I am going to see that my game over screen is not equal to null, and below this I will press enter, add open close bracket. Okay, this equal sign I have typed wrong. If it is not equal to true, then game over screen I am going to set active, and in open close bracket end it with semicolon will be set to true. This game over canvas will now be visible along with game over title and the restart button. To pause it, I will add one variable time.timescale, set its value to 0f, and end it with semicolon. And apart from game over, I will come out of this close flower bracket, press enter twice, and I am going to declare one more private void, and we call this as restart level, add open close bracket, press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this, when the restart level is called, I will set time period time scale equal to 1 second. That is, there will be a 1 second wait. I will call my scene manager and I am going to load scene, and in open close bracket end it with semicolon, and here I have to mention the name of my scene. For that I can just write scene manager get active scene, because there is only one scene here. I will add open close bracket period. I will call build index. When I press the restart button, it is going to load the scene from the start. So I have added one restart method and game over method. Now I will come back to file and save my GameManager.cs file. Now our Game Manager script is ready. I will come back to Unity. When my player falls down, it means that my player Y value is going to decrease. So it drops below -5. Then I have to trigger my game over function. So to do this, I will come into my player control script, double click to open it. I am going to come after this public game object power up indicator. After this, I will press enter and I will call one public float, and I am going to call this as call y, and I will set its value to -5f and end it with semicolon. I will declare one private bool function and I am going to call this as game over triggered, and initially this will be false. So the game over will not be triggered initially. Now next here I will scroll down and I will come into fixed update, and at the top of this fixed update, I will press enter. As soon as the game is over, I does not want any movement in the player. So for this, add open close bracket, and inside this, I am now going to call my game manager period instance, and if it is not equal to null, and the second condition is and game manager instance, and I had declared a boolean is game over. If it is true, then I will come out of this bracket, press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this I am going to set my player RB linear velocity. It will be now set to equal to vector 3 0. So means there will be no movement of the player. I will return the function so that none of the code below this will be executed. To test whether my player has dropped out of the island, I will move down and I will now come to the update method. I am going to test if add open close bracket, and inside this, if game over triggered is true, then it is going to return, means the code will end, or else if add open close bracket, and here I am going to test the condition transform position period y of my player. If it is less than fall y value that I have declared, which is set to -5, then I will press enter and in open close flower bracket, inside this I will set my game over triggered value equal to true semicolon, and then in the next line game manager period instance game over. Now one thing here is to call game over in my player control. One mistake that I have done is, if you come into game manager GameManager.cs script, we declared this game over and restart level method, and both we had set it to private. So to access it from outside, I have to make this public. Similarly, even here this private function I have to make it public. Now I will go to file and save my GameManager.cs, come back to player control, and once I have made it public, now from here I can access that game over function with open close bracket and semicolon. I will end it. So if my player drops coming out of the island in the y-axis, if it drops below the fall y value of -5, then immediately game over function will be triggered. This completes our player control.cs file. I am going to save it. Now one final thing that we have to do is, if I now come into my span manager.cs file, Now once the game is concluded, then the spanning of our enemy should stop. So I will scroll down and I will come into void update. After this open flower bracket, press enter and I will type F, and in open close bracket I am going to test for a condition where GameManager instance, if it is not equal to null, and add to ampersand sign, GameManager instance is game over. If this is triggered and if it is true, then I want this to return. So none of the code will be executed now. Then I will press enter. This entire code of this enemy find object, nothing of this will get executed. So now I will come to file and I am going to save this. I will come back to Unity, and once the script is compiled, I am now going to select my game manager, and here you have to select the game over screen. So I am going to drag my game over canvas and attach it in this game over screen. Inside game over canvas, you had button restart. We had created a button. Select this button, and in the inspector, if you scroll down, you have one on click event. Here click on the plus, and here in the object drag game manager and attach it here, and in the function come into game manager and choose the option restart level here, so that when this button is clicked, this restart level function will be called and the scene manager is going to load the active scene again. Come here in the hierarchy, select my game over underscore canvas, and in the inspector I will switch it off. Now I will go to file, save it, and now if I execute it, the game is running, and if the player goes and drops out, you will see the game over screen, and if I click the restart button, next round of game has started. Sometimes the enemy gets stuck here and the player is just rotating. So to avoid this state, I will stop the playback. Now come into your physics material, select this bouncy and set it dynamic friction value to 0, static friction value to 0, and in friction combine choose minimum. Come to file, save it. If I play the game and test it, see now it is running and I am playing. So this is now working fine. Okay, so now if the player drops down, you see the game over screen. So with this I will stop the playback. I am going to conclude this session, and we have successfully added our game over screen and the restart button. And in our next session we are going to add some new additional features to make this game more interesting. So I am going to give you some challenges. Try to do it on your own.